Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. Hello. How are you? Thank you for joining me. I wanted to do this. I'm Dr. Lori, the PhD Antiques Appraiser, here to teach you how to identify your objects, learn what to collect, and how to sell for top dollar. I'm going to get right to it. I want to talk with you about some of the items that we're going to talk about with respect to the new year. So I'm going to start with some crystal decanters. I like decanters very, very much. They're always a good thing to resell. So if you see it at the yard sale, you see it at the flea market, or any, of course, of the other places where you might be shopping to resell objects or just for your own home, these are wonderful. So you've got this particular example, a great example right here of this piece. And this particular piece is, again, a really nice decanter. Now, crystal decanters, you got to have the stopper. Oftentimes the stoppers are broken. So I don't want you to have a broken stopper. I want you to see, of course, one that isn't broken. If you're watching here from Facebook, I need you to go over to YouTube, the Dr. Lori V channel, and I'll answer those questions, of course, through YouTube. So I'll answer all of your questions tonight. And if you see me looking over at the scroll, I'm off camera. The reason why I'm not looking at the camera after 20 years of being on TV is because I have to look, of course, and see your questions. So if you're from Facebook, I'm so happy that you're here, but you need to go over to YouTube, Dr. Lori V, and you can ask the questions there and watch the video there, watch the live stream there, excuse me. So piece like this, really nice condition, really nice quality. Weight is going to tell you a lot about crystal. The other thing about crystal, I've always told you in many of my other videos, look for clarity with respect to crystal. And if your crystal or if a piece of crystal that you want to buy is actually, in fact, has some kind of deterioration inside or maybe some residue inside, equal parts water, distilled water is better. Distilled water and, of course, white vinegar will clean it right up. Value on this one, $150. So a really nice example right here for the $150 decanter. Now, if you have a decanter and you've got a set, right, and you know the difference, right, don't you? This one, of course, is going to be for spirits, scotch, whiskey, that kind of thing, vodka. The square ones are usually more masculine form, and they're usually for harder liquor, right, like whiskey. And those that are bulbous usually relate a more feminine form, and those are usually wine and some of your lighter types of spirits or, in fact, drinks. So me, I drink red wine. I've always drank red wine. I talk about that. My big Italian family, everybody's drinking red wine all the time. So you're seeing just that. I want to remind you, if you're on Facebook, you need to go over to YouTube, and I will answer your questions too. I think that the decanters are really cool looking. John, I agree with you. I think they're really cool looking too. I'm so happy that you're all here. Thanks. Yeah, I try to give good advice here too, Lori. And Lori's here, and it's nice to see her. And Sprite is here, and the whole bunch of you are here. Sammy's here as well. So thanks so much for being with me. I appreciate it very much. And I like you to learn what we've got. Learn the types of things that you're seeing. You can binge all of my videos in the binge link, and that's in the description, and that makes it really easy. You can just binge the videos. It's really easy. And of course, I want you to get used to going to the community tab. The community tab is going to be your source for what I'm doing next. So go to that community tab. The reason why I did this tonight, I did this because there are so many New Year's Eves when I am out somewhere, right? When I'm actually out and I'm looking around, I'm traveling. And for years and years and years, I would be away. And of course, many of us are grounded, right? I'm so glad that Jersey Gypsy Corner Store has finally caught a live Dr. Lori Table Talk. I'm so glad you're doing that. Hi, Sherry. Sherry's there too. If you're on Facebook, you need to come up to of course, YouTube, the Dr. Lori V channel, and watch there. And then I'll answer those questions too. Happy New Year to all of you. Thanks so much for being here. It's nice to be with all of you. And I'm glad a lot of you are with me. Many of us are home this year, but most of the time I'm actually not. I'm going to talk about all of the different traditions that I've got to experience over the years. But typically I'm on a ship at this time of the year. Usually by the end of the year, I've traveled around the world. You know, I've traveled here and traveled there and done the appraisal shows and did TV hits and all kinds of things. And I had, of course, a time to sort of have downtime. So downtime was usually that. And I typically am, as you can see in this picture, I'm usually seaside on New Year's Eve. And I usually spend time with the travel industry. That particular picture was St. Martin. And of course, the beautiful St. Martin. It was actually the French side of St. Martin with the cruise ships. And I would basically be lecturing on board about art, antiques, collectibles. And many of you have been asking about taking cruises with me and all of that kind of stuff. So, and what I would do is I would have the good fortune to meet all kinds of people from all over the world. and I would experience what are some of the traditions that would happen all over the world. So some of the places some of the things that I would talk about, well, one of the times I remember very clearly was the year that the ship actually had a malfunction and we were stuck in Barcelona, Spain for the whole course of the cruise. So boy, did I learn a lot about Barcelona. And I went to all of the museums and I gave tours and I talked about Dali and Picasso and I talked about Murano and all of these particular artists. And one of the places that I really liked had to do with, in fact, the Frisian Brut, or again, the Negron Brut, that particular sparkling spirit. And I was at that particular place outside of Barcelona, and I got to ride on this scooter. And the scooter is in the form of actually the Frisian bottle. What do you think? Pretty cool, right? That's a pretty cool one if you see that particular one. And yeah, traveling is really a dream. You know, I grew up in southeastern Connecticut, and I grew up in New Haven, and my family came from modest beginnings, and we didn't travel a lot. And there were a couple of books that I used to read that really made me want to travel. So, oh, Tiffany says, my mom is in a nursing home and can't wear t-shirts, but is priceless. Oh, I lost her. Oh, I'm so happy. I hope your mother is doing well. Want to know if you can put it in a comforter or a blanket so she can wear it on her wheelchair. Okay, well, let me try and figure out, Tiffany, what you need, and I'll do my best to try to accommodate you and your mom. But basically, I am happy that your mom's okay. I'm glad that I am talking about my travels. Well, Sprite, you know, a lot of people were saying to me about travels, and they're asking me about my travels, and I've been many, many places. And this kind of information is why I can actually make those connections about places and people and objects and art and history. This is why I can make the connections. You know, this is what I'm doing that. So I'm so glad that you're talking, and then I'm talking about the travels. I love to talk about them. One of the really fun places that I was, in addition to Barcelona, but when I was in Barcelona, I got to see, of course, the Gaudi pieces. And the Gaudi architecture is something that I taught modern architecture for a long time, along with art history, when I was teaching at Penn State. So this is the Casa Mila. And the Casa Mila was still decorated for the winter. And you can see this particular very, very famous architectural building. It's an apartment building right in the middle of Barcelona. And you can see all of the snowballs that it was actually decorated with the year that I was there. And it was just, of course, as I said, around New Year's. You can see also the top, that steeple with the cross on it. And you can see the form, the actual organic, what's called biomorphic or sort of form on the top of the roof. That roof line was supposed to imitate a dragon's back. And that's what we have here with the great Spanish architect Gaudi. You probably know about his cathedral that's still being done. So anyway, a lot of fun. And oh yeah, thank you, Joseph. I look good in purple. That's good. Well, I'm here because I have nowhere to go. So I wanted to be with you. I said to my staff, thank you, Dawn. Dawn, you're so sweet. Dawn, thank you so much for doing a super chat and being a super sticker. I appreciate it. Do I have a tip on testing gold if you don't have an acid tester? Okay, so if you're going to test the gold, the first thing you want to do with respect to gold is look for the marks. If you can't find a mark, you might still have gold. Sometimes the marks do actually fade away, but learn all the marks. I have them on our website as well as here in my videos right here. You can binge. The binge link is in the description. So if you don't have a tester or you don't want to use the acid tests that a lot of people do use, and if you put it in a nondescript place, a place that's out of the way, the back of the ring kind of thing, the back end of the bracelet, you can do that easily. So that's one of the things, but I don't like these tests where you're going to damage the piece. And there's a lot of these stupid tests that I don't want you to be damaging the piece. So be careful of that. I do have testers for, of course, diamonds, and you can get them through our specials page on the website. It's right there. It says Save Now Specials. So you can do that. But when it comes to gold, I want you to be careful. The best thing to do, of course, is to actually get comfortable with gold. And people say, well, what does that mean, Dr. Lori? I want you to identify quality so you get it from your gut. And I say that about everything. But gold specifically, the more you wear gold, the more you will recognize it. You probably can recognize that these are fakes, right? And when you can see the fake and how the gold tone isn't really good, solid gold, and you start to understand that with your eyeballs and your brain, all of a sudden you're ahead of everybody. And that's what I'm going to teach you. thanks so much. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate all your support. Remember that all of your super stickers and all of your super chats, of course, go to support the channel. So let's talk a little bit more about what's happening around the world tonight, because a lot of people are getting ready for, of course, tomorrow. And food is one of the big things that you see. Well, Lucid, I'm glad you love my content. I love you. And yes, I am pretty funny. People do say that the appraisal shows are a lot of fun. So thanks so much. I'm so glad that you're with me. I appreciate that. Hi, Jay. Jay, thank you very much. There is a way to date unmarked Carnival glass by pattern. So you'll learn the patterns. Some of the more actually distinct and decorative patterns actually are younger. So the older patterns are not all that intricate and decorated. The older patterns, of course, are pretty straightforward and basic. I would say plain almost. But that's one of the ways you can tell. So thank you very much for that, Jay. And I appreciate it so much. Yolanda is a super sticker, and Yolanda is one of my priority members too. Yolanda, of course, thank you so much for supporting the channel. When you support the channel, you help everybody as well as you help me and my staff to continue to make more videos. Tonight is because I said, you know what, we're going to go live. Folks seem to like it. Everybody's asking for something at night, so we figured we'd do it now. And of course, you know, when we're all on lockdown, at least Pennsylvania is still sort of, you can't go out to restaurants for a while. So I thought, who better to have a party with than all of my friends on, of course, YouTube. So thank you. I love you all. Thank you very much. So this particular idea, I want to talk to you a little bit about other places. So, for example, in parts of the world, I'm going to put on my little New Year's thing. So in parts of the world, the idea of fireworks, right, and having fireworks actually comes from the Chinese. The Chinese introduced that in the ancient world. And the idea of fireworks was about cleansing. So fire is all about cleansing. It's the idea of if you will show fireworks or burn something, you're going to clean everything. So in a lot of parts of the world, particularly in Asia, fireworks are very important. And actually fire is very important. When I was in Costa Rica one year at, of course, the New Year, one of the things I was very surprised to see was they were burning these beautiful figures that they would made out of paper mache, effigy figures. So in Costa Rica, an effigy figure like this one that you see here, rather big, would be the figure of a famous person, maybe a sports athlete or somebody who did something in the community. And they would make sort of a figure that looked like them, and then they would burn it. They would burn it in effigy on, of course, New Year's Eve. And I thought that was very fascinating how the Costa Ricans would do that. They were beautiful works of art to me, but they were burning them. So that's one of the other traditions that you have. Cleansing also takes place throughout much of the world when you actually see, of course, things like I brought out my soap and of course, a microfiber cloth and a dustpan, because the Japanese actually clean most of the day of the 31st of December or the New Year's Eve day. And then on, of course, the next day, you will see, again, families gathering and that kind of thing. But cleanliness, very, very important. The idea is to clean away all the bad of the old year and allow the new year to come in that particular way. Thank you. I'm wearing my purple. Purple's the color of royalty. So I feel like a queen when I'm with all of you, and I appreciate it very, very much. A couple of other things that you're going to see. I oftentimes remember on New Year's Eve, we would be, of course, I would be away and I would be on a ship, and sometimes I'd be dancing. I'm not a very good dancer, but you know, when you have a couple drinks, you figure, well, you know, you're going to dance. And typically I'm the type of person when you're on a ship or you're away where, you know, of course, I'm the one that they always choose to have come up on stage. I don't know if it has to do with having the fat lady dance or if it's just like, oh, everybody knows Dr. Lori, so we'll, of course, have her come up and dance. This is my friend, recording artist Eric DeGray, and we were in the Caribbean together one year, and he asked me if I would come up on stage during his show and dance with him. So I'm not a good dancer, but I had a lot of fun. One of the times I had a lot of fun was when I decided that it would be fun if I could ride in the elevator up and down on one of the places. So with, of course, one of the cruise directors, I decided to go up and down, and we danced as the music was going up and down in an atrium form on one of those big ships. We had a lot of fun. So I have a lot of fun. I try to have a lot of fun, and I have a lot of fun with all of you. But a couple of things I want to teach you tonight are about what's happening in the traditions, mainly food traditions, around the world. So one of the other food traditions is from my own family, which is lentils. The Italians throughout much of Italy will eat a bean, and most of the beans that they will eat, because beans are the same circular roundness like coins or money, is of course lentils. So tomorrow, along with pork and sauerkraut, I'll be having lentils. Pork, of course, and many of you have pork. How many of you have pork? You're having steak and baked potatoes. Tomorrow it's pork and kraut. There you go, pink elephant nose. So basically, maybe you're having some kind of beans like black-eyed peas, or maybe you're having collard greens in the South, or other types of things. Greens has to do with the idea of money, right? So green leafy things, which are good for your digestion too. So that has to do with money. But beans also has to do with that idea of prosperity or good luck. Pork is a prosperity symbol. The pig is one of those symbols of prosperity. Why? If someone is trying to get a farm going, what's the first animal they usually get? Well, pigs. The other thing about beans is beans actually relate to money, and that's why we sometimes will call an accountant who counts our money bean counters, because it was how that particular trend or phrase comes about. People go, Dr. Lori, how do you know that? Well, I know that from, of course, just that. So that's where you're looking at. All these years of looking at this kind of stuff and going to museums and researching history is how I know these connections. And that's why I like to make these connections. Other things that you're seeing. So if you're going to eat pork and sauerkraut tomorrow, or pork and some other green with some beans, well, you're going to have a lot of issues with bathrooms and trying to coordinate with the rest of the family in the bathroom. But if you're going to do that, remember that pork has to do with prosperity. It's a symbol of prosperity. And the beans and the greens relate to money or good luck. Other cultures, like the folks of the Philippines, will actually eat round fruits. Also that idea of a round element. And of course, in South America, they actually even choose what color underwear they wear. And the color of their underwear, actually, if they have white underwear or red underwear or gold underwear, that's based on what their hope is for, of course, the new year. What's interesting about the South Americans is, in fact, the fact that they are always thinking about wishes for the new year. So the underwear idea is, if they chose a pair of red underwear for New Year's Day, that means they want love in the New Year's. If they chose green or gold underwear in the new year, I don't know who has gold underwear, but I guess guys have gold underwear. And that would be if they wanted money or prosperity in the new year. And if they actually chose white underwear, that would mean they want peace in the new year. So the other thing that I think is interesting about the South Americans is that they, in fact, will try before the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve, they will try to eat 12 grapes for their wishes, one wish for each month of the year. And basically what they do is they will take one and they'll say, okay, January, this is my wish. February, this is my wish. March, this is my wish. Oh, that grape is kind of sour. March might be a rocky month, but maybe you'll get the wish. So that's what they do. So you have to have, of course, grapes for your wishes if you are in places like, of course, South America, Colombia, or maybe Chile, or maybe if you were in Argentina and such areas like that. Other places where I've been in, of course, the new year is the beautiful and wonderful areas of course, Tahiti and also Vanuatu. Vanuatu in the South Pacific is a fabulous and interesting place. And it's a place where I basically met some new friends in Vanuatu. They were really kind of wonderful. There they are now. They did a dance for me, and well, all of us. And also I got to take that great picture with the natives in Vanuatu and, of course, Oceania or the South Pacific. That was a lot of fun that New Year's, as I recall. The other things that always happens when I'm traveling, I don't know about you guys, but I like to shop and I love my jewelry. So in fact, in Tahiti, I did buy a very, very small strand of black pearls in Tahiti. And they weren't the best quality, but they were quite fun. And I do wear them with pride every once in a while. You've probably seen them on one of the videos. But having said that, your particular information and the stuff that I want you to know how to actually identify those particular black pearls. So if you see the ridges in the black pearls, those shouldn't be too expensive, right? You want the ones that don't have the ridges. The ridges typically indicate that they're lower in quality, right? And the way you can tell is, of course, the loop. You can get the loop, of course, at our shopping, which is on the specials page. That's where we put all the discounts on the specials page right at the top of the website at Dr. Lori V. And you can support the channel with, of course, buying any of the merchandise, whether it's T-shirts or whether it's the mug here, the Dr. Lori Says mugs, your priceless mug. you can do that too. But a couple of other things that I want to talk to you about. I told you that making that fireworks was part and cleansing was part of course, a New Year's tradition. And so are bells. Bells and gongs, of course, in Asia or in the Buddhist areas, where, of course, Buddhism is the religion, you will see, in fact, that 108 gongs will be sounded. But anytime that loud noise is made, that also is to get rid of evil spirits, and that happens on New Year's too. So when you see people making a lot of noise, that relates. And how did this all get started? The Romans. It's always Julius Caesar. It was the Romans. And he actually introduced what was, in fact, what's today our calendar, and also the idea, in fact, called the Julian calendar. But in fact, that, Lori, I'm so glad you love your mug and your t-shirt. What color t-shirt did you get? We have lots of different colors. A lot of people like the blue. I like the white. I like the denim blue one. I think that one's pretty. And it's fun to have, of course, that Dr. Lori says you're priceless on the t-shirt too. It's a lot of fun. A couple of other things. Let's see what else we've got in comments. And somebody just gave us another super sticker. Oh my gosh, you guys are just too good to me. Thank you so much. Do you have a question from our super sticker folks? The folks who are doing super chats. Vegetarian is no pork for you, but yes to beans. Bobby, thank you, Bobby. Bobby's my good friend. Bobby, of course. I've helped Bobby with some appraisals, and it's so nice to see you. So if you're a vegan or if you're vegetarian, of course, the greens and beans will do it. They're good for you. They keep the insides moving, right? And of course, but if it's no pork for you, that's great. You can also find all kinds of different ways. I cook a lot with I do a lot of vegetarian stuff. I even have, which I guess is processed. I don't know if this is good or not. Maybe all of you who are vegetarians or vegans can help me. I have the pasta. It's in the shape of pasta, but it's made from beans, like chickpea pasta. I eat that when I really am like, oh gosh, I really want to have rigatoni, but I can't have all the wheat or all the white flour. So, but thank you so much for supporting the channel. When someone supports the channel and buys a super chat or a super sticker, they're supporting everybody. So I appreciate that. Don't forget to binge the channel. Don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm happy that you're actually watching these things. So Sprite asked me, that's why they blow horns on New Year's. Yeah, the noise is about getting rid of evil spirits. And it goes back to the raucous parties, the wild parties of course, the Romans. And that was Julius Caesar and the Romans. And they also introduced what's called the calendar, right? What was called the Julian calendar, right? For Julius Caesar. And that particular calendar was introduced all the way back in the Roman times, 1st century AD, that kind of thing. But then what happened was it was named for the god Janus. And Janus, of course, is the god of new beginnings. So we wanted to honor him in the Roman world. So that's how we have the word January. And you all know my birthday is January 11th. I'm 111. Oh, thank you very much. It's Posh Puka, of course. Thank you so much for your super sticker. It's very nice of you to do that. I appreciate it very much. If you have a question for me and you're doing your super chats or super stickers, I want to see your question. So thank you again for your support. I do appreciate it. And any value any number, large or small, is wonderful. I think all the values, I think all of the support numbers are actually, again, very large. So I appreciate that so much. So another place where I was, in addition to Vanuatu, which was fun, and after I, of course, bought my pearls, I went to and had the good fortune to be on New Year's Day sailing into Sydney, Australia. So for my friends in Australia, a lot of folks in Australia said, Dr. Lori, you're doing this so early. We're not even up yet. So on the other side of the world, where, of course, New Year's has already taken place, I want to thank you very much. And here is me on a ship with a good friend of mine who you might remember from a show called 8 is Enough. Do you remember Tommy, played by this actor, Willie Ames? Well, we've traveled to, of course, Sydney, Australia. And that's the Sydney Opera House in the back of Sydney Harbour there. And if you look at that Sydney Opera House with those very distinctive, beautiful, wonderful, Scandinavian designed, in fact, elements. And inside it is beautiful, a gorgeous interior of the Opera House. But that Opera House is actually all tiles. And the tiles are amazing and beautiful. And the idea of how the light actually hit. And on most New Year's Day, I would get up and watch the sunrise, and I will do that tomorrow morning as well. I think that's really kind of important for me to do that as well. So I want to thank you folks for being helping all of us with, of course, your super chats and your super stickers. And thank you for the support of the channel. I appreciate that too. How many of you remember 8 is enough? The Americans probably remember 8 is enough. Yes? Let's see. Maybe in the comments we can see it. You loved Willie Ames. Yes, he's a wonderful guy. He's really talented. He can sing and dance, play the guitar, and of course, he's a great actor and a great friend. So I'm biased, but he's a good guy. Anyway, married to a beautiful actress as well. So I went to Disney World when Willie had a band called Paradise. They played there. Oh, Elderly, how about that? That's wonderful. Elderly Poodle saw him in concert. Yeah, he's really talented. So that's a lot of fun. I've had the good fortune to meet a lot of interesting people there. One of the other interesting things that I've got here on my table is this. You're probably wondering, I've told you about my fish collection, right? So my fish collection has been growing with folks who have been kind enough to say, oh, Dr. Lori, we love your fish collection. Fish, of course, is also a food that's eaten on of course, New Year's Eve, mostly on New Year's Eve. In our family, we were Catholic, so of course on New Year's Eve, the next day was a holy day. So we would eat, of course, sort of like Christmas Eve where you ate fish. New Year's Eve, we ate fish too. And typically appetizers of things like clam casino, or maybe but no lobster, but we would have something like clams, or maybe we had clams and spaghettis. I don't know if you ever had that. That's a typical Italian kind of thing. My sisters still make that. This particular piece is a Murano glass, of course, fish. And it's a Murano glass fish from the 1960s, 1970s era. You'll notice the lovely color. You'll notice details like, of course, the eyes, and also, of course, the way in which the mouth opens. It's very highly detailed. You can see it's also decorated here. You can actually see the fin. The tail is really quite nice, and it just sits beautifully just like that. It's a gorgeous piece. It's yellow, which is not my favorite color. My favorite color is blue. You remember I went to Michigan, so go blue. And that particular piece is very nice. And it's in wonderful condition. It's mouth blown, so hand blown in the very famous Murano factories, of course, outside of Venice, Italy. One of the islands, of course, of the 117 islands that comprise Venice, Italy, and its environs. And this particular value for this particular piece, you know where you can find it? The value for the Murano fish is at the community tab. You can go to the community tab and you'll see the value there. And I'm going to show you right here how to get to the community tab. There it is. You can see the hand. It's right there, just above one of my videos on the channel. Go up to the community tab. Let's see some questions. Let's see some comments. Are you enjoying this? Is this a good time for you? What are you doing tonight? Tell me about what you're doing. Are you going to eat some of these foods, or are you going to have Chinese food and pizza? What are you having? Oh, let's see. Let's see. Laura's here from North Carolina. Let's see. Betty Boop says hello. And a lot of people will, of course, burn things. Well, I can even hear some of the fireworks close to our studio happening right now. Okay, so we haven't got too many of your asking questions or your comments at the moment. Let's see. Other things to tell you. The ideas here that you can look for when you're looking at elements with respect to, of course, collectibles for of course New Year's are anything that, of course, is moving forward. So you want to think about that as well. So can we move the comments? Let's see if we can scroll the comments. Okay. Yeah. So you want, oh, okay. So, all right, I see that. So the bells can be any kind of bells. Someone asked about the bells and what kind of bells they can be. It doesn't matter. Whatever noise you can make is going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's a good idea to have those. The table talks are for you to get an idea about some of the objects and some of the values of objects that you're going to see. Some of you might be surprised that even pieces like vintage soap, this particular soap dates all the way back to the 1940s, and that soap has sold recently, retails values about $15, interestingly enough. So are you going to watch TV tonight? Or are you going to watch YouTube tonight? What are you thinking about doing for tonight? So I wonder what's going on with all of that. I'm not big on some of these shows, the shows are fine, but it's sort of typical. You get the regular anchors who are kind of doing their New Year's show. And I don't know. I think that these folks are on enough that we have to watch them at New Year's too. I like to see something new and unusual. I really love to see all the fireworks from all the different places around the world. I think that's a lot of fun. So the idea where you're going to see that kind of thing, I think that's so much fun. It's a little bit different this year, and I think 2020 will be a year we all say, well, we got through it, but it sure wasn't easy. Some of us, of course, are in fact very happy to see 2020 go. And some of us are thinking, well, 2020 taught me new things. A lot of people learned more about technology and such during 2020 as well. So, well, I thank you so much for being with me. Thanks so much. Happy New Year to you. And I'll see you next time. It's Dr. Lori. I wish you all good things in 2021.